Hello there and welcome. It's Psychic Cynthia here, Spiritual Psychic Cynthia. And welcome to you, my fellow spiritual psychic traveler and seeker of the higher cosmic ways. Today I wanted to talk just a bit with you about healing, and especially healing from the perspective of the five-dimensional spiritual energies and how that's different from 3D healing. And this can relate to any kind of healing issue or crisis that you're dealing with on any level, whether this is emotional, mental, spiritual, or physical, because from the perspective of the 5D, or you could just say spiritual realities, these are all intertwined. They're not separate. And some of the challenges come through when we're dealing with acute crises, really intense crises, or chronic, especially chronic crises. Some of the challenges come in when we forget to connect with that spiritual reality in our healing practices, the five-dimensional energies. When we forget to see the world, to understand that the 3D is, almost sort of a video game out of the 5D, or a projection, and the other dimensions above as well. If you're not familiar with these numbers, 3D and 5D, just think 3D is where we live here. Some people even say 4D, depends on how many dimensions you want to add in. But physical reality, the Maya, right? And then, there's other dimensions above this. The word above does not suit it well. There's other more holographic, holistic dimensions that reveal more of reality, true reality. So let's not go too far though into worrying about the numbers or getting too philosophical. But I want you to just think about your own healing and whatever area of life where you're seeking to experience healing. By the way, it could be in an area of life too. It doesn't have to just be like a mental. Well, all areas are affected by mental, emotional, spiritual, and physical, right? So, this could be that you're seeking healing with your money issues, right? Maybe you have long-term chronic money problems. And of course, some of that, I want to acknowledge, could be related to the money structures on this planet and the inequities. But still, we all have our own path too, and our own five-dimensional and above energies. So, so really, it's just a way of shifting. And, one of the things about it, and there's many things we could say on this, and maybe I'll do more videos if there's interest in it. But if you're seeking to heal something, especially if it's chronic, but even if it's brand new, and it's a issue that just came up, especially when that happens, because that way it doesn't have to become chronic, right? You want to pay attention to the stories you're telling yourself about it, and how much time you invest in that story of not feeling well, or whatever it is, where you don't feel good in life. That's really important, because sometimes the healing can even increase. Like, sometimes there can even be a physical healing. There can be improvements made. Let's say you have back pains and you have some relief, or you have arthritis and you have some relief, and that healing has begun, but then you keep telling yourself and others the story about how you have back pain, how you have arthritis, and you get really invested in that story. And what that does is it locks it down into 3D reality. So I think the part I'm focused on here, and there's really a lot more to this, but this is an important part to understand, is don't lock yourself down into an unpleasant 3D reality with the stories you tell. Unless you want to. If you want to experience pain and suffering, and that might be your karma, and I know there can be a lot of learning through that, okay? But in this new age that we're moving into, the age of Aquarius, that is not the primary mode of learning anymore. The age that we're coming out of, the age of Pisces, which also contain the energies of the age of Virgo, you see, because it's the opposites. They pull in the polarities. there was a lot of learning to be done through things like suffering and martyrdom. That was part of the collective energy of the planet. But now we're shifting into a time where Aquarius is activated, which also activates its opposite Leo, which is a sign of great joy. And Aquarius is a sign of the individual and the group. It's kind of tricky. So, but it's about being yourself, living your purpose and your joy in service to the whole. So that's where you want to be focusing your story. So listen, if you're suffering with anything, and I've suffered with a lot myself, I understand. And I've overcome it. I've shifted out of it, and I'll continue to do so as new things rise up. And one of the ways I'll do that is by being mindful of the stories I'm telling. And, I'm not saying you can't notice if you have pain, or you don't notice if you have money problems, or you don't notice if you have relationship problems or communication issues or family issues, work issues, whatever it is. You of course you're going to notice you're experiencing these things. But put more energy in towards writing the news story, towards focusing on the solution, and especially with these larger, really collective energies that are going to be in effect for thousands of years. Don't keep playing those same old martyrdom stories of suffering. Don't keep talking about that back pain or this, this money issue, this, that. Instead, talk about what gives you joy, what brings you purpose, or the progress. Celebrate that. Put more energy into that, is what I'm saying. And what that does, just to be clear here, is that helps shift your 3D reality, because the 3D reality is basically like a hologram of the spiritual energies. This is how we approach 5D healing, and it's a shift in the mind. Now, there's more to it. Another big part of it is connecting in with the spiritual powers and energies of what I would call the unseen world, what others call the 5-dimensional reality and above. Even learning to look at weather and nature, and to understand that there are entities and energies that can be very healing. As you can see, I'm filming in the snow, and snow has an energy, not just a biochemical energy, not just something we can measure with our physical tools, but it has a cleansing and healing energy. And by being in here, I am out here, I should say, although it feels like I'm in here. See, that's the difference. When you're in the 5-dimensional mindset or above, you're going into the spiritual energies. Okay, they're in you actually already. That's another story. So that's another piece. You can start tuning into your guides, tuning into the nature elements, like as conscious entities. Okay, if you don't know how to do that, well, maybe we'll do some more videos on that. But I'm sure there's already a lot of information out there about that. And really, part of 5D healing is to get out of form in our minds. Like, we're so informed, we're so structured. It's like we got these mental prisons, and we need to step out and open to these higher or just different realities. If you don't want to use hierarchical terms, which I understand, these different realities that are active. And this is how you connect up. This holds the key to greater healing. It's possible to even still have some of the issues you're dealing with, and just not to be affected by them so much. And maybe that's another story for another time, but it's really, at the end of the day and the end of your life, it's really about your inner experience and how you feel, about your life. That's why there's people with large amounts of money that are miserable and still feel poor, right? Because there's a, higher reality. There's many higher realities. So for now, work on just being aware of the stories you're telling. That's a good place to start. Listen to yourself. How much time are you spending talking about your pain? How much time are you spending talking about your problems? When you introduce yourself, is that the first thing you tell somebody? Okay. If it is, you're locking yourself down into the 3D reality, and maybe not a very positive, or let's put it this way, not a very pleasant 3D reality. And again, if that's what you want, if you want to experience unpleasantries, suffering, pain, and I have known some people that do, and I understand. I used to like to do things the hard way. Do you like to do things the hard way? Okay, just own it then. I think it's really important to own it. If we're contributing to our own suffering, then at least own it. So at least then you're a conscious creator. because that is a large part of what we are here to do, to be conscious creators. That's why pretty much every religion teaches that we are created in the image of God. They do have some things right. I'm not saying everything, but some things. Alrighty. I wish you much peace and much awakening and empowerment on your healing journey. Until next time, bright blessings